Yo, yo, what's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here, Taco Moto Co. Check it out. What do you notice? What's missing? Shift lever. So this is a bike. This is a 500. I forget what year it is. It's a 17 through 19 500 EXCF. And this bike was out in Utah a couple weeks ago. Hit a rock, took a big boulder to the shift lever, and then snapped it off. So it snapped the lever. Luckily, it did not do anything to the shaft, but it did snap the bolt off in the shift shaft. So what you're looking at is the side case of the bike with the shift shaft removed. We needed to pull it out so we could drill it out. What we did is we drilled out the bolt while it was on the shaft, but we removed the shaft so we could heat it up to loosen the bolt and get it out in case there was some Loctite on there. It would not turn out. We tried with the easy out with it on the bike still in, and it did not come out. We didn't want to break anything. We didn't want to break the easy out, so we removed the shaft to heat that up. Here's what it looks like now with the bolt removed. So this is the shift shaft. This is what sticks out on the side of the engine of the case over there, and then the shift lever attaches to the end of that, and here's the bolt on the easy out. And like I said, we just could not get that out unless we heat it up, and so you do not want to apply any heat here. This is, see this little score mark here, that's where it goes into the side case of the engine, and so this much would stick out of the engine case. Have everything with the shift lever attached. The lever attaches to the end, the splines are in there, and then that bolt is going to go in here. And when you put the bolt in, don't use any Loctite. It's going to have those two little splined washers that turn against each other. You got to make sure that you put those on there and then torque that bolt to spec. And then this is the inside. This goes on the inside of the engine, on the clutch side. And the reason there's a spring in this, here's a failure point sometimes, is this spring. I've seen these where these springs will fail. These springs can pop out. There's not a lot of material here that's holding the spring into its little ratchet point. That little cup right there is what holds it. And I've seen it a couple of times where that spring has come loose and then it was just sitting like that. And then the symptom is that you can't shift out of a particular gear, or it won't go into all gears. It's just some sort of transmission shifting problem, and it's been a spring issue. And then Jimmy Lewis has told me that he's seen some springs that just didn't have enough force here. They were just kind of weak, and then changing the spring fixed that problem. So if you're having a weird shift problem on your bike, it very well could be. Another thing you could have here is the fact that there's two individual components that have to slide against each other, and if there's any sort of warping or binding of these two components, then you may end up with some sort of shifting problem. And I don't think so. This outer plate here is it's two pieces, and it's welded on, and you can't replace as a part the inner one, and you can't replace any of this separate from the shaft. So if you're having any sort of, the only thing that's individually resourceable is the spring. So if you're having any sort of shifting problems, you could have an issue with the top of the shift drum here, the spring, or this assembly right here. And we've kind of encountered all of these. So I'm going to put that spring back in here. It fits in a little cup on the bottom, and then on the top it just goes in. So when you are in between, after you've made a shift, then the spline sits halfway in between there so that when you go down, it can engage and move it to the next lower gear. And it's spring loaded because the tooth, see how it's angled at the top, it has to be able to slide click past the top of that to then rest in the middle position, ready for the next gear. And it does that on the bottom as well. So it's just sort of turning in this direction, and every click is one more turn of the drum until you get to the limiter. Say you're on 6th gear, or you go the other way and you get to the limiter here, click, 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 and now you're down in 1st gear, and then this won't go anymore, and it will rest in the halfway position. So all of this had to come out so that we could heat this. So why did we do that? We needed to extract the broken screw. And so with this still on the bike, we drilled out a hole into the screw, and you want to use a clean, sharp, nice bit that is just undersized of the bolt that you're trying to drill out. So anytime you drill a bolt, these are just the general rules, whether it's this or anything else. Very sharp, very clean bolt. Do a little center tap to start the bolt. And it's really important and critical that you don't have the drill bit going at an angle and then drill into the original material. It's probably not going to ruin the piece, but if you just want to do this straight, you want that drill to go in straight. And we have a nice straight hole. Our tool here, if you see, it's a little bit cockeyed as it engaged, and this is an extractor bit, and so the threads go backwards. So you turn this in the normal extraction direction, and these screw in and then bite and attach themselves into the bolt that you're trying to remove. And so we applied heat with the torch, with a standard like plumbing blowtorch on this, got it hot. I have a little temperature infrared, and I usually get these to about 350 degrees. Somebody once asked if by heating this, will it soften the material? Will it do anything to ruin the temper? And it absolutely will not, unless you get that thing glowing like red hot. So 350 is about the right temperature, any of the thread locks. And there was no thread lock on this, but I just couldn't get it out. And so often you apply heat to loosen something. So we did 350 degrees, and then this thing just turned out super easy. Do not heat this on the bike. You want to remove this before you apply heat like that. Or else there's an oil seal that this shaft right here fits through on the side case of the bike, and there's an oil seal. And if you put a torch on there, you could melt the chain sliders, you could melt the oil seal, you could catch your bike on fire, the oil could burn. That's a bad idea. Do not apply flame to this part on the bike, and I wouldn't use a heat gun either. There is our engagement arm, and there is our shift drum in the middle, and you can see how the spring retracts when the shift mechanism, see that spring engage and slide back, and that is the spike, the arm of the shifter engaging on those little splines on the shift drum. So it's a very clever and very simple mechanism. Pretty much all shift mechanisms on all motorcycles have some version of this. They all basically do the same thing. And back over on this side, on the shifter side, we've got our lever back in and the bolt reattached and a new lever. That lever was damaged. Basically what happened is we took a rock, hit a rock right here just at a magic angle, and it bent out the lever. And then as the lever came out, all the energy was just transferred into the bolt, and the bolt snapped. I've never had one do that before. We've bent levers, brake levers, shift levers. That's somewhat common, but breaking the bolt, that was a new thing. Haven't seen that before. So it's just one of those things that can happen. We had no trail side fix. We did not have the capacity to drill and tap and heat and do all that on the side of the trail. So we brought the bike back. I had to ride this bike out of Zion, way deep in the Utah backcountry in second gear. It was kind of a drag, but we got it out, got it back to the truck, and now we're at the taco shop and we're making a proper fix. So that's what you should do if you break that bolt, the shifter bolt. Hopefully this doesn't happen to you. But that's, you know, this is the risk you take, and these are the things that can happen when you're out doing all the things. So as always, go out, get some adventure.